Our speakers tonight are Sam and Kacie Malouf. In 2003, they started Malouf, a bedding company out of their apartment that has grown into an international brand and that now employs over 400 people. In 2018, Sam Malouf ranked number 23 on the Glassdoor Top CEOs Employees Choice Award list, placing him in the top 1%. Sam also received the 2017 Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award in the Utah region. Sam Malouf heads the Malouf Foundation, which named the fight against child sex trafficking as its flagship cause, and also works to end domestic abuse while supporting families and children in need.
Today, having just celebrated their 15-year company anniversary of when they started, Sam and Kacie have seen tremendous growth since the early days of their business, and like Jared said, they now employ over 400 people, and that's pretty incredible. Kacie was recently named one of the most influential women in the bedding and furniture industry by Home Furnishing News magazine. Over time, with the addition of 5 children, Kacie has transitioned into a consultative role in the company, while actively remaining as someone who runs the Malouf Foundation and serves in her community as a part of the Citizens Against Physical and Sexual Abuse Board. So please join us in welcoming Sam and Kacie Malouf to address you guys tonight.
All right. We rolling? All right. Well, we're sure grateful to be here tonight. This is really more formal than what we're used to. The dinner you guys have before this and the whole program. So anyway, we're really grateful to be involved. Everyone's been really gracious and kind and nice to us, and so thanks for having us. So just maybe to kind of outline what we had planned. I know last week you had or a couple weeks ago you had Amy here, and I've met her before, and she's a very dynamic speaker. We're not the best speakers.
We're not.
So you have to bear with us a little bit. But what we had planned.
We'll try.
Yeah, we'll do it. So what we had planned is we've got just kind of an intro to the company and tell a little bit of the backstory, and we've got some slides to kind of go along with that, and then we're going to do a little Q&A panel, and then obviously open up for you guys to ask questions. So we're just going to kind of get cued here by the slides and just talk a little bit about how we started things up. So we both are Aggies. We want our kids to be Aggies. We've got 5 kids. We've got our 2 boys here tonight because the girls were all busy dancing, but we want them to come here too. So anyway, so that's why they're here. But so yeah, we got married in 2003. Both met here at college. Kacie was a music therapist major, and I was working on marketing, and then transitioned over to an accounting and a Mac degree here at Utah State. So that's us in 2003. Next slide. All right. So early on, I mean, probably some of you have read the story, but we were setting up our first apartment, shopping for stuff and sheets. And at the time, I was sleeping on an air mattress before we were married, and sleeping on the sheets I bought at a garage sale in Mexico. And so a little sticker shock when we were in a store with my mother-in-law and Kacie, seeing sheets that cost $80. And so that was kind of where the initial idea and thought that, hey, gee, that seems like a lot of money for not to get very much for it. And that's kind of where we came up with the idea. The company started here in that upper left bedroom with pink carpet.
This is Logan, West Side.
Yeah, West Side Logan. So that's where we started out. All right, this was the first product that we made. It was actually a 600 thread count. This is kind of the same packaging idea, but we started out initially sourcing overruns and overstocks from European productions of higher end sheets in Europe, and then very quickly transitioned to manufacturing our own brand in Egypt, actually, with Egyptian cotton. And most of you are probably familiar with Egyptian cotton. It's kind of been a rage for the last, couple decades as being the premium cotton. We actually now don't make any products with Egyptian cotton anymore because of some changes in the market and some of the adulteration of the brand of Egyptian cotton. But anyway, that's a picture of our first set of sheets. So a lot of people ask about how you do this, and we didn't know how to do this. we looked around for connections and trying to backtrace where the origins of how to make things, and that's kind of where it all started. Not too long after that led us to China, where we do a lot of production now. I thought you were going to say something. And along with a lot of other countries. So we produce in about 9 countries now, but China has always been a pretty big stronghold there. There's a lot of changes now with obviously the tariff situation. But anyway, so that was China. So we're going to show a little bit of a timeline here. So we started the company in 2003. We just finished the 15-year anniversary. We didn't hire our first employee for 6 years. So that's something I think we forget about because we're surrounded by so many awesome people now that really make it what it is today. But we bootstrapped for a long time.
Yeah, it was just us for a long time. A lot of financial stress, a lot of just always kind of feeling like things are about to collapse. But you kind of get used to living that way. So we got good at that.
Yeah, a lot of tables full of chips all the time. Putting it back on. So 6 years, we ran things by ourselves. I think we were sitting at dinner with some people tonight and saying that is with an exception of a part-time high schooler that would come at 3:30 after he got out of school.
In his mom's van, so we had space because he'd take the packages to UPS. And anyway, we had him, but other than that, it was us.
It took us a few years till we found out that UPS would actually come pick up packages from where you shipped them.
It changed our lives.
Yeah,
it really did.
We bought vehicles that could haul packages because we didn't really know that part. So anyway, 2010 we had 3 employees, and then I don't know what the other number was. So this is kind of a weird picture because this is our Halloween party 6 years ago.
It looks sad, but it wasn't.
I think there were 9 or 10 employees there. This is kind of in a loft space in one of our old offices.
I think why we want to show this picture though is just we talk a lot of the reason why people are interested in our company is because we feel like we have a unique, interesting culture. And so from the very beginning, we really did try to it looks kind of sad, I get it, but we really did try to engage employees, make sure people wanted, we're friends with each other, wanted to have a good time together. So this was kind of our attempt at that.
Yeah, so parties are a big part of the company just for that cultural region. Now when we have Christmas party, there's nowhere in town that's big enough for the 500-600 people that we have at the party. So anyway, so they've gotten a little larger.
Parties are awesome.
Yeah, fun parties. So this is our office 6 years ago in the front desk, and it was really nice. We thought it was really great. Anyway, I'm just kind of remembering.
I used to go put Finn down for naps there. He'd go sleep in the bathroom there, and he was.
So anyway, some of these pictures are kind of a first for me to see too. So, all right. This is just another picture of a Christmas party. This was the whole party, which is, again, it's changed a lot now. We talk about how we used to all sit around a lunch table together. We all eat lunch together every day, and we'd all fit at one table about 5 or 6 years ago. It's kind of changed. So. Couple first products. So obviously we start with sheets. The product expansion happened early on when we were into sheets first, and we kind of identified the furniture market as a primary candidate to market our products through. And there came a point where we were trying to determine, do we try to expand into new customers, or we expand the product base? And that's what we did initially. Was we kept complementing basically a mattress purchase in a furniture retail store.
Yeah, I think one of our customers actually said to us you guys should make protectors, and we were like, what are those? And then we did a lot of research, and that's what we came up with. So that was kind of our second thing.
And then it expanded from there. It was basically sheets, mattress protectors, pillows, bed frames, and it's kind of expanded from there. So let's see, this is the next phase. So again, this puts us back 6 years from now, and you can kind of see the cadence there, 2014, about 4 years ago. The building that we are in now, we started the plans for, I believe, in 2013, started building it in 2013. The banks thought we were crazy. I think even probably some employees thought we were crazy and why we were building a building that would house, a couple hundred people. And
we had a vision, though, I think.
Yeah, blind vision, but yeah, we were shooting.
We were hoping.
But we were and you'll see the numbers later, but it was about 6 months after we moved in that we had the same regret that a lot of companies have, where we underbuilt the building. But anyway, that's kind of a little time from there. So we, in the furniture market, there's some major furniture shows or bedding shows. Las Vegas is the premier one. If you've ever driven into Vegas, there's those 3 tall buildings on the left-hand side of the freeway when you come in that don't have any windows, that kind of look like a jail. So that's the World Market Center is what it's called, and inside there's about 10 million square feet of showroom space, and that's kind of where all the buyers of retail stores and different, Amazon, everybody.
Yeah, anybody that's anybody, you have to be to Vegas. This is like a big deal. It was our first showroom there, so.
And it was big for us because in the early years, we would kind of go spy this joint out. So I've been going to that market, Kacie's been going to that market for
Long time.
12 years now. And
We beat ourselves up because it was just, it felt like everyone was better than us. We could never get to the point where we'd be able to have a showroom there. So now we do, and it's actually, it's big. It's exciting, so.
Yeah, I used to walk in there with cardboard boxes and try to sneak in and then try to corner people in the hallways to talk to them. But now we've got, there's about 12,000 companies that exhibit there, and we don't really understand how we got to this point, but ours is the busiest showroom out of 12,000 companies. We see about 4,000 people that come actually through the space in a 3-day period. It's actually this weekend, so.
It's because we have food.
Yeah, we serve
We
a lot
have
of
food, people will come.
And speaking of food, so this is, we were talking again about this at dinner a little bit. From the earliest days, when there were 2, 3, 5 of us, we just have always kind of worked as friends and kind of have a family environment in the company. And so early on, it just seemed more efficient and easier to just bring food in or have, have food delivered for lunch. And we just, the company always paid for it. And that started when there were literally 3 of us. And then, now there's 300 of us here in Logan. And then on our other sites, there's another 120 employees. And so we provide lunch for everybody every day, free of charge. In today's circumstances, there's 15 cooks in the office that are full-time that cook lunch for everybody every day. And it's on face value, it's about the food, but it's more really about the collaboration and the synergy that we get from communicating while we're eating. So this is us breaking ground. We were kind of laughing, a few of us, when we did this, when we saw this picture today, because I thought there were a lot more employees when we started building the building.
It felt like there were more when you were there.
But this is the groundbreaking 4 years ago. So this is the rest of the cadence here. So we're 4 years back, or 3 years, I think this is the end of the year, we're 117, add another 50 that year, another 60 the next year, 70 the next year, and then last year we hired, and I think this number actually, so last year we hired about 150 people, and that's nationwide. So we have, Logan is the headquarters for the company, and then we have major distribution facilities located in Ohio, in Dallas, Texas, and then North Carolina. So we have about 120 employees between those locations. So, and this year, I think it's going to show here in a minute, we've hired more than a person a day, so the number's up to 420. So, okay, I don't know, you want to hit this?
Yeah, so we kind of early on, I don't know, a few years into our business, noticed like we really had like a unique product for charity work because sleep is like a primary need. So we'd have people come to us and ask for pillows or sheets for families that didn't have, things like that. So we started just donating those things to people that needed them, donating them in the community and things like that. And then in 2006, we decided to establish a foundation to do that. And then that's kind of expanded too, where we're not just giving away bedding, but we're really trying to focus on child sex trafficking and sex crimes and things like that. So that's kind of our focus now, and yeah.
So I think we'll get into that a little bit more later. All right, this is the building where we're at now. So if you've driven down the highway and see the big white building, that's us. Yeah. Just a couple cultural shots. That's a shot of the kitchen. We've got different facilities there to make coming to work a good thing and being able to recreate together. So there's a gym, there's a basketball court, there's pickleball. We were talking about at dinner today now. There's a few pickleball courts there that get used. And then we actually a couple of years ago, we added a hairstylist. So every employee gets a hair treatment every week, or every month, sorry. Every week would be nice. But once a month, so we have a colorist now that does cut and colors for women or men. And then men's services that go from haircuts to shaves and things like that. So let's see, this is Halloween the year before last. So this is here in town. So the Halloween party is fun. We have a different kind of run of parties that go throughout the year. Halloween's a big party. There's a huge prize if you're voted the top costume. So people get kind of crazy. So these are some things I think they talked about in the beginning. Just some different awards that we've been recognized for over the last year or so. So. And then this is Las Vegas that we were talking about. So this is an image of the showroom in Las Vegas and the people that come through. And again, this is basically where all of our sales representatives congregate, and then thousands and thousands of qualified buyers come to look at what's new and to shop, basically. And there's food there again. Yeah. Okay, so here's some stats. I'll just kind of roll through these here. So 420 employees today, I think is the count today. And like I mentioned, we're located So we own real estate in 4 different states where we're strategically located for distribution, strategically, and so that's why we're in those places. We've got 4 more places identified out. It's so this is a funny number, and sometimes I think there's a lot of numbers that get thrown around that, and I hear them from in other industries that lack scale. But so we started literally out in a bedroom, and then it grew to a storage unit, and then it grew to a little larger storage unit, and so on. And so it is kind of funny looking at the numbers now, but it's a percentage scale that's continued in spite of the size. But 3.3 million square feet, 57 football fields, so those are all under roofs of buildings that we own in different parts of the country. They're all staffed with our people. So. And then 2,112 unique products. So those are unique SKUs across, 179 product families. So today we make everything from, a lot of our primary categories are mattresses. That's a major product we started making about 8 years ago. And that's driven a lot of growth for the company. Big paradigm shifts in the sleep industry are adjustable bases, if you've heard of those before. They're the electric platform bases that you put a mattress on that adjust for comfort and for lifestyle. And so on. Mattress toppers, the things we mentioned before, we make a pretty wide variety, and some of those products go very wide too. So we'll make, I think we make probably, we have 200 and something different pillow SKUs, for example, and 100 and something different mattress topper SKUs. We make about 70 different collections of mattresses, so some wide variety there. A few more stats here. So we work on over 50 online sites. We sell into over 12,000 brick and mortar retailers throughout the country. So this ranges from places like, we have a program launching in Walmart actually this year, but it ranges from places like Mattress Firm, who's a big national chain that's, you've probably seen in the news before, and there's one here in town that's got about 3,000 storefronts, to places like, Fisher's, Palmer's, Edwards, places like that here in town, all over the country. 22 countries across 6 continents. That's a big expansion area that we're working on, is international expansion. It's again one of the fortunate things. I think we were asked at dinner too, what the hardest thing about starting a business is, and one of them is just having that right idea that clicks. And we got really lucky and had the right idea that hit at the right time. But sleep products transcend all borders, all cultures, and so there's a lot of opportunity in our product category across the world. And then product reviews are a big thing for us, internally and externally, and so there's 211,000 online product reviews with an average rating of 4.3 stars. All right. What's next? Oh, that's the last one. All right. So I think we're transitioning now to, we just wanted to give a little intro to the company, and then we're going to transition to some Q&A stuff. So.
Okay. Does he need your microphone?
So Sam and Kacie said they really like to answer questions, and so we want you to think of questions, and they love answering questions from students, not from us. But we're going to ask them some questions to get the ball rolling, to get it started, of some things we're interested in, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time with you answering questions, okay? So start thinking about those right now. The first thing I want to ask Sam and Kacie is, many successful entrepreneurs have a pretty strong driving purpose for why they're doing their business. Something's engaged them and caused them to keep going and not give up and get through the hard times. Is there a purpose that drove you through those harder times? And do you still have a strong purpose right now for why you're in business that you communicate to employees and customers?
I think in the beginning, we really didn't, like, I was working at Golden Corral, and it was not fun, and so I didn't like it, and so we were trying to just think of any way, like, how can we make $1,000 a month so that I don't have to go to Golden Corral anymore? And so that was really like the vision at the beginning, was like, we just gotta make a little bit of money. And so that's kind of where we started, and for a long time, I feel like we were really just kind of like trying to survive, trying to sell more, trying to do those kind of things. So we didn't have a lot of time to step back and like work on a big vision. But now, I think the last 5 years, we both really are passionate about our foundation and about how we can spread goodness through that. And so now I feel like that's kind of like one of the main focuses of the company and one of the things that drives us the most. But in the beginning, no, it was just like, we got to eat. So
That's a good purpose, you have to eat.
And I think to tie back to that, I mean, the idea was to get Kacie. I mean, I was in school, so I was, I had the sugar mama, and I was, she was working the buffet and bringing home money, so it was kind of nice. But
so much money.
yeah, but she smelled like the buffet when she came home, and it wasn't good for newlyweds. But anyway, but that was honestly the purpose, was to get out of a negative work situation and have something that was more gratifying and fulfilling. And so I think that's what we recognize today. It's not, it's not about us anymore. It's about all the people that we're surrounded with. They're really good people that have, that want the same thing. They want a good place to work and a fulfilling, progression track and growth and opportunity. And so I think that's what's stuck with us, is this is why we got into the game, and this is what we want to provide for other people.
Well, I just want to add too, I think it's really important to like your job. So I hope our employees like their jobs. I'm sure there's aspects of every job that you're not going to love, but I hope overall that people like coming to work and don't wake up in the morning and go, oh my gosh, I got to go to work. So, because that's how I felt about Golden Corral. Not that Golden Corral's fine, but.
Buffet, we have nothing against buffets. We go to Chuckarama, so it's good.
Well, I heard about this event, so I walked in just a second ago, so thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I work with Malouf, or for Malouf. I work with Sam and Kacie on the foundation, so I get to come and help and ask a few questions too. So you guys talked a little bit about that purpose of creating a great work environment and then giving back to the community. What do you do to communicate that purpose to all the rest of the people who are at the company today?
So as far as foundation stuff, communicating to kind of integrating into culture, I think. So over time, I think the foundation is now migrating into really a central role, like Kacie mentioned, and I think there's vision that someday a large or majority portion of the company even converts to that that side of nonprofit, but. Within the employee base, is that kind of where the question's going on this, with employees, how they get engaged? So we support a lot of different organizations. There's some really, keystone and primary causes that we stand for. Child sex trafficking is kind of the central thing, and I mean, obviously SEED does a lot of work with that, so it's been exciting working with SEED on some things. But inside of the company, it's part of our culture now. We have a lot of opportunities for people to get involved. We have events. We had actually a couple weeks ago, if you've heard of Operation Underground Railroad, we had a couple of Tim Ballard and John Lyons, a couple of their main people were up doing a podcast in our office. So there's a lot of ways for people to learn and get educated on it. We have CTO, is what we call it, charity time off, and so everybody has an opportunity to get paid for 2 hours a month to do service within one of the organizations we support. And then we have, so for the different organizations we support, from Operation Underground Railroad to CAPSA to locally, a big focus of ours is the CJC, the Children's Justice Center. We have charity managers that kind of operate and manage and administrate all of the activities and different service points that we do with those groups. So anyway, so the goal is it's not just about writing checks and providing money to these places, but it's about awareness, and it's about engagement. It's about the employees being able, in a lot of cases, use their own skills at work and be able to translate it across to helping these organizations and supporting the cause. So,
Well, and one of the things that our employees have told us too, and feedback is just that they really value that. They like having the opportunity to be involved and have opportunities to serve other people. So we try to really provide a way for them to do that that's meaningful, that maybe they wouldn't otherwise know about or be able to do.
So one of the questions we always get is, how do I finance my new business? And often people tell us, I can't start a business because I don't have any money. But successful entrepreneurs usually learn how to finagle and get things done with resources other than money. So could you take us on a timeline and say, how did you start this business with limited resources? And then how are you funding your growth since those early days?
Well, I'll let Sam take this because, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, this probably still is maybe, yeah. We're not, Kacie told me I'm supposed to disclose that we don't advise this, but it is what we did. So this conversation came up at dinner too, was maybe one of the hardest things about starting and maintaining and being able to keep a business up and running really is cash and capital. So starting out, neither of us had, a rich uncle or came from money, and banks really don't just give you money if you have a good idea. They will only really give you money when almost you don't need the money and you've got assets that they can leverage against and collateralize. So starting out, we hopefully this is okay. This isn't traditional business acumen.
This is a reality show, so
okay.
Go ahead.
But
tell the truth.
This is back in 2003, 2004, pre-financial crash. But there used to be, and I think there still are a lot, 0% credit cards. And we got a pretty deep cycle of that going. So the money was free, and it was a large amount. So I juggled a book of credit cards that totaled over $1 million. And it was the cheapest financing we've ever had in the company. It's not free now, but it was complicated. And it was a little bit stressful because of some of the complexities in making that work. But yeah, that's how we pulled it off. We couldn't really, we didn't have a resource to get that much money. We supplemented that with hard money loans and personal loans that we were able to. I remember we went over to actually a local person here and took a duffel bag with some pieces of fabric and talked a guy into giving us $60,000, which was that funded our first container of sheets. But after that, we needed a lot more money, and so credit cards was what we used. Again, not advising that, but we have great credit still. So
you paid it all back, right?
Yeah, paid it all back. So today, and I still remember going and walking into banks here locally and showing them our P&L and showing them our balance sheet and being like, hey, look at this, we're two of us and we made $80,000 last year. Isn't that good? We went from we'd sold 250,000. It wasn't impressive at all, and I think it took until we were in business for probably about 7 or 8 years until we could even get a $50,000 loan from a bank. So today we have credit facilities with multiple banks that really can expand and can stretch to any amount of money that we can need and that we can collateralize with inventory and other assets, receivables. So it's gone very institutional, but in the early days that was not available and often isn't. So.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing those stories. So it's pretty fun and different today.
Got to get creative, I think.
Yeah. So in building a business and being creative with it, you talked about wanting to have a great place to work. What are some of the things that you've done to create a good work environment, even with the physical facilities, but also in building a strong culture with that environment? And what decisions have you made in order to do that?
Well, I think the easiest one to mention is just our kitchen, our free lunch program that we have, because it's expensive. Like, it costs a lot of money. We have a team of 15, 18 people that work to do lunch every day for employees, but we feel like we get a lot more back in value, even though when you tell people that, it really does sound crazy when you hear the numbers of what it takes to run that, but it's worth it because of the collaboration. Everybody, it's like kind of like people get to know each other that way. Otherwise, people just leave, or they don't really collaborate in that way. So I think that's probably one of the things that is brought our company close and made it so it has a really cool, unique culture. I don't know, what else?
Yeah, so I think the overall concepts, there's a lot of unconventional things we do in our office from, we talked about haircuts and lunch, and we have a pretty flexible work schedule, and it extends the work environment. But the overall concept is we want people to wake up and be excited about coming to work, and we do want them to leave, and we want them to go home, so they do. But it's not about, a lot of people coming through our office, they say, oh, this is so that, you have to compete for employees here. It's not, we're not in the Lehigh Tech area where we're, competing like that. It's really just about, I think, treating people in a kind and a positive way, and it's about getting the best work that day. It's not as much about, well, we got to stack up all these perks so they won't want to leave, and so that we can, put our claws into them and really keep them here. It's really about that day that they go to work. We want them to be happy. We want them to be able to, perform at their highest level and be able to contribute at the highest level and want to and be driven to. So I think that's the main reason for a lot of the perks that we kind of reference. And then the second question was, the environment. So we talked about this a little bit at dinner tonight too, but it's often referred to as a family, kind of style environment where people know each other, people know each other's names, they know what each other does. I mean, there's over 300 people in our Logan facility now, and most people know each other, and even with that many people, they know who everybody is. And we try to do that so that it's a positive, collaborative environment where people feel safe sharing ideas, they feel motivated to communicate, they also feel empowered to, pick something out or raise a flag if there's something wrong and be able to help correct things and progress things forward. So
I think also just, it's super basic, but when people are happy and they feel well fed and they feel like they're accepted and like they have a great place to work, they're going to work harder, they're going to bring better ideas, and so it just kind of feeds into that whole energy of just great work and having fun too.
So you've got a big group of eager, excited students here, and I know it was pretty hard to hire the first employee. So what were you looking for in that first employee, and how does that translate into hiring employees today?
I think our first hire was a good friend, someone we really trusted. So I think just being loyal and trustworthy, it never hurts to know somebody, unfortunately, but not that we only hire people we know, but somebody that just will work hard, will do any position, because the first person we hired had a master's degree, but he was working in the warehouse, he was pulling sheets, he was packing bedding, he wasn't too good to do those things. So just being willing to do anything that's necessary, and then also we like people that are sharp, that understand things quickly, that get things, and just kind of can assimilate our ideas and our culture quickly. So
yeah, we have to talk too about collaborative ability. If someone is the highest level genius possible, but they can't get along with other people, they can't communicate effectively, it doesn't work. And so we often, we hire and don't hire a lot on the basis of fit, and it's not just cultural fit. If they fit in, within some demographical subset, it's can they be kind? Can they, drop their ego, take criticism, Casey's saying, and all those things, because we're not perfect. We're not a perfect company. We never will be, and we want to get better all the time, and so we need people that are open to that idea of getting better and progressing and being humane to each other. And so collaboration, and we talked about this a little earlier too, group projects, getting along with others, it's a reality in a workplace. It's a big team and group effort. So.
We said this to our dinner people we were talking to too, but I tell my kids this all the time, that we would not hire them because they cannot get along with each other. So it's super important to us that people can collaborate well and get along, even maybe if they don't like somebody in that moment. Boys?
If you haven't ever been to Malouf, it's really something to go into the main lobby and then see everyone eating lunch together with the chefs cooking great meals. And they're collaborating, they're laughing, they're having fun. It's a phenomenal culture. So we have time now for questions. How about you in the audience? If you have a question, we're going to have you stand up and ask it loudly, and then if maybe you could repeat the question and then answer, that'd be great. So yeah, go ahead.
First of all, Sam and Kacie, you guys have an awesome dry humor, which I think we all appreciate. So one of the things you talked about is like you found this need while you're in college, you did a lot of research, you got this product out here, you took a big risk, and for all of us, we all kind of have ideas. What advice would you suggest on like your sales strategy in your first 3 years where you want to make some noise in retail or online? Maybe you can talk about that small time period, how you guys evolve, and because as far as like at the very beginning, Malouf doesn't have a huge brand presence like at the very beginning, but you guys have obviously created that with 12,000 retail locations. That's huge. So I'd really like to understand how you guys navigated all that and like really just punch through all the noise of retail.
You know, it's a good question. So let me repeat the question. So the question is, what do you do in the beginning when you want to make an impact in a sales channel or in at retail when nobody knows about you and nobody knows the brand? And it's a different game now in the last 20 years than it ever really was before, where there's a lot more mediums afforded. Of course, a lot of them get expensive now if you get into a competitive environment. If you want to sell mattresses online, for example, now it's a pretty destined for failure route because it's so competitive advertising-wise, paying to get there. So this is going to be a little bit of a blurry answer for you, but I think a lot of it is doing it. You've got to just go do it. I mean, that's what we did, and it was a survival thing for us, and that was probably what was fortunately helped us get there. But I think I hear of a lot of people that plan things and plan things and plan things, and you just got to kind of jump in, and it's a lot of risk. You know, I always tell Kacie all the time, this is the best time ever for us to go bankrupt, and you know, that's why we kept putting the chips on the table and kept betting, and you know, we're pretty big risk seekers, but yeah, I think you've got to be willing to take on the risk, and I think those early years there's a lot of guerrilla tactics. You've got to get creative, you got to get dirty. I think not dirty in a ethical sense, but I mean, you've got to do things that wouldn't be as conventional and maybe aren't quite as, you know, glamorous.
Great, next. Yes, please.
So you two have a really awesome dynamic, being husband and wife and building this company and creating it. But I want to know, what were some of the struggles that you might have had being husband and wife making this company? And what were some of the blessings? And then also on the flip side, what were some of the good things about creating this company together as a couple?
Okay, so the question is, kind of how did we navigate being married and then also starting business together? I don't know. I think like there were definitely times when it was like we fought, but we were newlyweds, so it was fine. But I think it's just like we talked about, like at work, like with people that they're bothering you or annoying you, like you really just have to kind of take not a passive attitude, but just kind of maybe give yourself time to like cool off, not get too upset, communicate really well. I think that's been helpful. I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think that you do have to kind of be unified. I mean, we didn't always see eye to eye on things. I'm a lot more of a risk taker than Kacie is, and there were times when she said, I think this is too far, and I just said we're going to do it anyway sometimes. And she tolerated that and was willing to, get on board with that. And so I think there's rights and there's wrongs, and there's also just in the middles that you can get on board with and do. But I think in our case, it was, I think, both of us being willing to take risks and work really hard. And, I think we got really lucky and had some really good timing that played in there too. But yeah, I would go back to Kacie too, where just said, a lot of it is about, stripping your pride and looking at right answers, not your answers in a lot of cases. So.
And also, I think it worked too, because it was definitely like a shared risk. Like, he never did anything I didn't know about. I never did anything he didn't know about. Like, it was always very open, like, well, we're probably going to go down, but let's just do it anyway. And so it was always very open like that. It was always a unified risk, so even if I took a little convincing.
Okay, next. Anyone else? Yeah, right here.
So, you guys give a lot to your employees. I read about one company 10 years ago that gave huge bonuses to all their employees. It was a private company. And I hear Google does pretty cool stuff. If you were to go, or you're private, I assume, if you were to go public, do you think that culture could be maintained in a public environment?
So we are private. It's Kacie and I that still own the company. And it's one of the reasons we want to stay private is because I think a lot of the things that we do, shareholders probably wouldn't support because they haven't seen it firsthand. And there's different, initiatives. It's like, there's only so much money you can use or personally, and so there's a lot of good that you can do with it and spread it out more too. But yeah, I think it's a good question. It'd be a good goal, and I think there's great public companies out there. But we sometimes talk about some of the perks and benefits we do, and we've been able to see the benefit from them gradually. And I think if you had shareholders step in and said, "Well, you spend how much money doing this," and they wouldn't understand those benefits. So I think it is one of the benefits of being private. Yeah.
Okay, we had some in the back. Yeah, go ahead. No, we'll take all three of you in that order, okay?
I'm just curious, you mentioned you decided to do bed sheet, that you had the idea when you were shopping, and you saw the steep price tag. Did you really just decide right then and there, let's try selling bed sheets? Or did you, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, had you previously tried to do other retail things? Did you have past experience? It seems kind of, cool to me that you just say bed sheets, but maybe did you try something else beforehand?
Oh boy, you're digging into the coffers here. So I think you got a loud voice. Everybody heard. Was it just sheets? Or were there other things we tried? We tried all sorts of things. We sold clocks. We sold treadmills. We sold musical instruments. Sold lamps. We tried a lot of things, and the sheets are what stuck. That's where the idea came from. The sheets was shopping for them, and it was the idea that actually worked. The other ideas didn't work, and we tried a lot of things that failed. So yeah, that's there was a lot of failure in between. It was a lucky hit for sure, but we did try a lot of other things that didn't work.
Okay, next here.
Okay, so I think the first question was how do we deal with other countries and language barriers, right? And then the second was how we basically tie it all together with all the locations now. So it's a great place to be in Utah, where there's a lot of people that speak a lot of different languages in the world, so that's a nice benefit. But initially in the early days, we'd go overseas to Asia, and we didn't speak the language, and there's a lot of, we also are all very fortunate to speak English here, and that's if you've traveled the world much, it's a pretty global language. So there's barriers there. Now, in the office, we've got 5 or 6 people that speak Mandarin, for example, and, I think probably another 25 languages, I'm sure, like most groups here in this area. So language barriers were pretty easy overall, I'd say, and probably easier now than even before. The second question is an interesting one, which was, how do we tie in all of our different locations and have that culture transcend? And that's a big challenge. And we, there's a specific kind of, more prevalent culture and dynamic, for example, in Utah or in Logan, and it's different in different parts of the country, economic status, cultural background, educational backgrounds. So it's a challenge, and it's something we're working on. We also have internally, there's even positional divides where, most of these other locations are primarily material handling or shipping and receiving, along with some administration. They don't have a basketball court. A lot of these buildings we didn't build, and so they don't have a lot of the same benefits. But what we try to do is there's a certain standard, so everyone gets lunch. We do gym benefits to all the locations. We have established values. Dr. Crane, that many of you know, has consulted us a lot on building, a mission and a vision and values that we try to incorporate into everyday operations, as well as assessments and evaluations for people. So it's a big challenge, and it's not something we're perfect at, and it's hard when you're separated. But I think if the culture and the value base is strong enough, I think it can easily transcend and stick. So.
Okay, there's one more in the back over here, right?
So I just want to make sure I heard you right earlier. You were juggling around $1 million in credit card debt. Did I hear that right?
You heard that right.
I didn't give you the exact number, but it was over $1 million. So yes.
We had like 2 binders of like baseball card size liners, and they were all full with different credit cards. Yeah, we had a lot. It was stressful. I can't recommend it.
Here's my question, because a lot of people in this room have great ideas for business, but we're going to require them to take this and put on some debt. How do you emotionally deal with that when you're trying to start a business? Because I'm worried about student loans, which is thankfully significantly less than that. So how do you combat that?
I think like we were making money the whole way along, so we always kind of felt like, well, if we sell all of our stuff, we'll at least break even. That's kind of how we felt, right? It would take a long time, but we weren't paying interest, so that was kind of how I made the connection in my head. But yeah, like there was it was hard. Like there were definitely times when if I thought about it too much, I'd get too stressed out. But when we'd talk about it together, we'd be like, hey, it's going to be fine because we can sell all this stuff. And unless the whole world breaks down, we can sell it. And so that was kind of our fallback. But yeah, it was hard, very stressful.
Yeah, I was going to add, there's a lot of risk today. There's risks internally that we can control, and there's external risks, foreign policy and trade wars that go on that we don't control. And so that is why a lot of companies will sell, is to mitigate the risk and take some of the equity off the table. And so I'm okay going down with the ship, so we haven't done that. But there's, as time goes on, there's some diversification, some hedging that happens. But yeah, I think there is a risk factor that we had to be, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs have to be comfortable with. And then, yeah, you might fall and lose everything. So.
Okay, we have time for one more question. How about back here in the back? Yeah. Yeah, you. Go ahead and stand up.
What are some ways in the beginning that you got your name out there?
I'm probably going to give you the wrong answer on this. So what he asked was, how did we get our name out there in the beginning? So we bootstrapped for a long time, and you'd maybe argue longer than we should have, but it all worked out in the end. We still don't really do conventional advertising. A lot of it is just getting products into product channels and letting people buy them. So initially, the honest answer is, we got a few placements in some regional small retail chains, started out in Portland, Oregon, and sold to some 10-store chains and got the product out there. And then we didn't advertise. It was more word of mouth. And so I think, we accomplished that with a lot of, our service and reputation. Our angle when we got into the game was things were overpriced and they were under merchandised. And so we came in and said, hey, we're gonna display it and make it look amazing on your shelf. And we're going to bring a lot more value to the table and make it more affordable so you can make more margin on this, and then do really great service and have everything in stock. So it was a lot of reputational building. Still today, there's, advertising would be a showroom in Las Vegas, for example, but it's not pulling out magazine ads, which we still don't really do in a big way. So there's different publicity venues, and of course it's a lot easier for us now that we're larger. But in the early days, it was just selling the product, really.
So I'll ask the final question. You've tried selling different things. The first few items didn't work. The sheets worked. But now you're diversifying and adding more products. You can't just have a single product or you're vulnerable, but you can't have way too many products, so you're not focused. How do you decide what products to add to your portfolio now?
I think we try to look for products that are similar or that we've seen will work in the home category and kind of expand from there. But it's still a risk whenever you add a new product. But yeah, just looking for holes to fill.
I think, this is a pretty standard business acumen, but there's good ideas, or there's better ideas, and then there's best ideas, and we try to focus on the best because there's always limited resources, whether you're talking about finances or time or just focus, really. And so, I mean, we used to have a toy company where we made really cool, retro 70s style skateboards and longboards, and it was fun, it was cool, but it wasn't the right focus for the company, and so we divested of that. We have a couple other fringe areas. We make some pet beds that kind of utilize some of the same technology, some of the same supply chain, but they don't really follow some of the same retail distribution, and so it hasn't been as good of a focus, and later on we might decide it's a little more of a distraction. But there are sometimes bigger wins when you say no to things, and we have lists that go hundreds and hundreds of products long that we are saying no to or that we're pausing. So there is an element of focus that I think that is critical in deciding what to go after.
Sam and Kacie, thank you so much for coming. We've loved having you here. I think we have some gifts for you.